Now I want to tell you about our plans for having an in-person worship experience. First, I want to say thank you to our New Beginnings team. They have been the folks that have been meeting since the beginning of the pandemic all the way back in the beginning of April, and they have been slaving over all the different protocols and recommendations and consulting the health department and the Centers for Disease and Control and listening to the governor and doing all that they can to help us understand what it means to live through this pandemic in a way that does the least harm. And I want to thank them because they have helped me and our staff understand better how the virus works, how it gets spread, and the ways that we can help to prevent its spread and to protect ourselves and others. Second, I want to thank you, the congregation, especially those of you who took the time, 154 of you that took the time to do the survey that was put out in October. The results of that are now made available by email and on our website. I invite you to look at those. You have helped me and the staff and the New Beginnings team understand a little better what you're experiencing, how you are feeling, and the need that some of you have expressed to have some kind of in-person worship experience. And so I thank you for that. Let me say that there are no easy answers when it comes to planning for in-person worship or not. There are no easy answers during this pandemic, and I know there are a number of churches in our area and beyond that have been having in-person worship, some for several months. And many of those churches have had no incidents of COVID spread, and for that I'm grateful to God and praise God for that. There are other churches that have opened for in-person worship, and then they've needed to close down because somebody came, they didn't know they had COVID, and they actually spread it to others who subsequently spread it to others in the community. And then they needed to shut down their in-person worship and just do worship online. There are still other churches that have made the decision early on that they are not going to provide in-person worship until after a vaccine has been created and distributed and the Centers for Disease and Control say it is safe for large gatherings again. And so every church is being faced with these tough decisions. My point is this: I want to encourage you to just simply see and appreciate the complexity of these decisions and to appreciate and pray for pastors and church leaders all around the state and beyond. For these churches are doing what they believe is the best and right decision for them. And I want you to know that whether the decision of any church is to have in-person worship or to only do online, both of those decisions reflect a deep faith. I've been hearing some people say things like, why don't we just have faith? And sadly, a lot of times that statement is in reference to things like not wearing your mask or not paying attention to social distancing or just blatantly disregarding any of the cautions at all and going on as though there was no pandemic at all. Such risky behaviors. I want to strongly urge you to not propagate that misunderstanding of what faith really means. We are a people of the book. We're a people of the Bible. And if you read the Bible, faith is always a part of wisdom and patience and discipline. To have faith and to live out of faith means to do what you can and to hear from the community of believers, others who have gifts and scientists who tell us about how things work. And so I want to urge you to not propagate that misunderstanding about what it means to have faith. Faith is, in fact, being not afraid to do our part to decrease the spread of COVID-19. Faith is, in fact, having the courage and the courtesy and the love for neighbors to wear our mask and to stay 6 feet apart whenever possible. Throughout the pandemic, the New Beginnings team and the staff and all of us, we have lifted up to you before. We're trying to use Wesley's 3 simple rules as our guiding principles. Do no harm, do good, and stay in love with God. They have been our guiding principles. And what I've learned in this past month from the survey to the congregation, as well as a survey to 10 other churches in the conference that are a similar size to Faith, what I'm learning is that to not have any kind of in-person worship experience is also causing some level of harm or interfering with our ability to stay in love with God. Some have shared with us about how the effects of isolation have really had a toll, especially now that we're coming up on 8 months since we've been in this mode. And so I'm appreciating better some of the harm that can be caused by not having any kind of in-person worship for some people. What we're learning is that there are a number of people in the congregation that don't have access to or the skills for engaging in technology. At the same time, I just want to praise and give a shout out to so many folks in the church who have crossed into the world of technology because of the pandemic. They've learned how to use Zoom. They've learned how to use YouTube and Facebook, and they're learning how to use amplified media. They're doing Bible studies. They're taking attendance on Realm, and I praise you for doing that. That is a tremendous witness of faith in a way to still be the church in a safe way. There are others in the church who have the ability and they have the computer tools to engage and worship by wire and Zoom. But what we're finding is that they do that all day long for work because they have to work through Zoom and not meeting in person. And the last thing they want to do is to go back on the computer for some kind of worship experience or Zoom experience. And so they're not engaging in the life of the congregation because of that. And then there are others, maybe they're not using the computer as much for work and they have the skills, but they just have a different kind of language for worship. Kind of like the love languages. The experience of worship on the computer does not feed their soul in any kind of way. We know that that's true, that people have different learning ways in which they learn and different ways in which they worship. And so the plan to have an in-person worship is to speak to that need. And we want to encourage those that need that those will be the ones that will want to come. And others, we encourage you still to feel comfortable worshiping online. So let me go over the basics of what you can expect. We'll begin the service on November 15th, and we'll offer it every Sunday is our plan, unless something changes. The service will begin at 10:30, but you'll be asked to come at 10:15 for screening. I'll say more about that in a little bit. I want you to know that this service is nothing like, it's really not like the 8:30 or the 11 o'clock traditional services, and it's really not like the 9:45 modern worship service. I just want to get your mindset. It's not like those services. It's something unique in and of its own self. We're calling it Centering. That's the name of the service, Centering, a service of prayer and presence. I want you to practice that. This service at 10:30 is called Centering. It's a service of prayer and presence. And it is really leaning on the belief that more than anything, what people need is simply the opportunity to come into this place that is your house of worship, your house of God, your place of experiencing God, this place that is infused with the memories and stories of the people of faith, that just simply being in this place, newly renovated, and being in the physical presence of other members of the body of Christ at this church, that in and of itself is going to be more than anything what gives you a sense of healing and comfort and assurance to fuel you throughout the week. The service will be 30 minutes long. There will not be bulletins passed out. There will not be hymnals in the pews. And we will not be having the attendees sing. James Ferguson will be leading us in some songs, again, not for you to sing, but for you to hear. It'll be a subdued kind of prayer service. There'll be some candles lit. And James, when he's leading worship and when I am leading a portion of worship, or Jake, we will be behind an 8-foot piece of plexiglass up front. And we will not be wearing masks, and that is because the mask will interfere with the hearing of our words, and it will interfere with the expressions of our face, and so it would hinder the experience of worship. And so for that reason, we will not wear masks whenever we're leading worship. If we come back down we're not leading worship, then we will be wearing masks. And James and Jake and I, we will always be practicing at least 6 feet distance. The worship leaders, myself and James and Jake, we will always be at least 25 feet when we're leading worship, 25 feet or more from the first person, the nearest person who comes to be in worship. All ages are welcome. When you come, though, you need to know that there will not be a children's message. There will not be Sunday school or childcare or nursery. We will not be setting out our manipulatives because that can spread bacteria and the virus. And so if you come and you bring children, we encourage you to bring some of your own manipulatives, coloring crowns and coloring materials and things like that. The service will be limited to 20 pews, 5 pews on this side, 5 pews there, 3 on the outside, 3 on the outside, and 4 pews up in the balcony. And you will need to register. You can register beginning on Monday each week. And if you come and you want to go again, then we ask that you wait till the end of the week to register so that those who haven't had a chance to come yet, maybe it filled up, have a chance to register first. But if you want to check back on Friday or Saturday, if there's still room, then you can register. Now it's going to be 1 pew out of every 3 pews, and that provides 9 feet between you and the next nearest person. And when you come, you'll see that the pews that are not available are taped off, and so we ask that you sit in the pews, obviously, that are available. And each pew is reserved for 1 family unit, 1 household. So if you come by yourself from your household, then you got a whole pew to yourself. If you got 5 or 6 in your family, you bring the whole family, you've got a whole pew to yourself. We're making it go that way, and again, that'll be part of your registration. When you come, you'll be greeted with folks wearing a mask, and they will have a touchless thermometer. They'll meet you, and they'll put the thermometer up to your head. They'll get a reading of your temperature. They'll ask you a couple questions. Have you had any symptoms of COVID? Have you been around anybody that's tested positive? And if you answer yes to those, or if you have a temperature of 100 degrees or more, you'll be asked to go home, call your doctor for the safety of everyone involved. So just be prepared for that. Again, come at 10:15 so that we can go through and take care of attendance in that way. Those who greet you may ask your name as well. They'll be marking attendance in that way. Just that's necessary in case somebody did get contracted with COVID. We have to do contact tracing. So, but you won't have to sign in because we will already have your registration beforehand. We will be asking, in fact, requiring, again, this is for the safety of everyone. There'll be people that will not come unless they know that everyone is wearing a mask. So everyone that is age 2 and older, that's the recommendations from CDC, Centers for Disease and Control, age 2 and older will need to wear a mask. If you need a mask, call the church, we can get you one, but I trust that everybody has their own mask. Wear that. You'll be asked to wear your mask throughout the entire service. I want you to know that we will continue to provide the pre-recorded worship by wire service. That will be sent out as it has been at 8 o'clock on Sunday morning. We'll also continue to provide the 9 a.m. Virtual lobby experience. That's been going great. It's 9 to 9:30. We have featured guests. We have great conversation. And you can dial in on Facebook or Zoom and be a part of the virtual lobby. We'll still continue to provide our Wednesday night live worship service. That's a 20-minute service, and it's a lot of fun. So all of these circle around the theme that we're using each week, the different scriptures. Right now we're in the study of the book of James. So, and I want to encourage you that truly the online worship experiences are the safest way to prevent you from contracting or spreading the virus. So that's still the best, safest way. The in-person worship is provided for those who feel they have a greater need to come and to be in person. Again, you need to register. If you can register online, you can register through the email connections website. If you don't have access to those things, or if you know somebody who doesn't, who's not even seeing this video, we will be sending a letter out to the congregation so they will see how that works. They can call the church and ask Cheryl or Amanda. They can get you registered. And again, we'll be opening up registration next Monday. That'll be November 9th for November 15th. All of these different worship experiences are meant to provide for each of us in our different places and where we are and our different levels of comfort. And so I want to urge you, let us show our care and love for one another. Whatever, in all cases, let's affirm that each person prayerfully discern what's right for them. And then let's just trust that whatever is right for them is in fact right for them. Let's not try to judge whether they're being risky or whether they're being afraid or anything like that. We want to encourage you and urge you, stay home if that's what's most comfortable for you, or if you're particularly in a higher risk category, we want to encourage you to be safe. The last thing we want is to be a church that has caused the propagation of this virus in our congregation and or in the community. Finally, I just want to say that we'll continue to do the centering service of prayer and presence. until further notice is our plan. We are still in the process of getting our video equipment installed. That's hopefully going to start next week so that we can start to do live streaming. The centering service will not be live streamed. The service that will be available by wire will be pre-recorded. Eventually, by the end of November, we'll have the equipment. We'll be exploring when and how we can have other types of worship experiences in person. But this prayer service, this centering service, is a way to get started, a way to kind of test the waters, a way to see how this works. So we invite you to be prayerful and extending grace in all of those measures. And then finally, I need to say that there is always a possibility that we have to cancel the in-person worship for the prayer service. We'll be watching if the situation in our county or in the state reach an even greater peak, and there's churches that are closing down, if there's businesses and restaurants, if the governor says they strongly urge us to stop at an even higher level, we'll take our cues from that. So if we need to cancel, we'll send an email, we'll put on Facebook. If you don't get those messages and you come, then there'll be a sign on the door and you'll know what's going on. I've included in the email and on the website a whole list of frequently asked questions that goes into much of what I've just said in the video. So you can read over that. You can also read the results of our survey. I protected the anonymity of everyone, so no names are listed on the survey, but you can read those comments as well. Let me leave you with this. Once again, trust and know that the God who goes before us indeed goes before us, that no matter what happens, Christ is alive, and each day is a new day. And so let us practice the love of Christ that goes before us. Let us trust that we only see in a mirror dimly right now, that we don't know all that there is to know. The candidates don't know all that there is to know. But we look for that day when we will know one another as Christ knows each of us, as we are fully known, and that we'll see in one another fully the image of Christ. Let us go forth and show the world the wonder and beauty of Christ's love. Amen.